Where is the battery industry already repeating the same mistakes oil and gas did around the cost overruns or supply bottlenecks and so on?
They too dependent on the big EPC contractors. So the big EPC contractors did very well in the days when it was $100-something dollars a barrel of oil, and oil companies liked just going to one company, like one giant company. Yeah, you do everything. One price, one contract, you do everything, you take all the risk. And these EPC contractors were saying, it's going to cost you $18 billion. And the oil companies would complain and go, oh, maybe 17, and they'd argue about this. And they transfer all the risk. They used to make these companies endorse the feed, which someone else did. The EPC contractors kind of got used to working like that. They'd flood it with thousands of people, lots of change orders. They knew their clients were rich, and the clients acted like they were rich. They didn't have to be smart. They could just hand it over to somebody else. When that ended, a lot of these companies started going into the battery business, and the battery industry took people from the oil business. And I think they liked the idea of, hey, we'll just give it to these big companies. We're going to EPC everything. Like engineering, procurement, construction, for those who are unfamiliar. It's when you go past your final investment decision, you're in full execution, you're committed, and you give everything to one company to execute. Very easy to manage, but very, very expensive. And what happens is the owner's team, they say, well, they're doing everything, so we don't need a big team. We don't need to manage this. We just need to manage the costs and things. So these companies become very dependent on contractors, the big EPC contractors, and they lack the organizational talent to manage them. They think managing them's easy, and it isn't. They say, oh, well, it's all in the contract. We'll just hold them to the contract. And suddenly you get 35 change orders adding up to $20 million in your first week. And you've got 2 people to deal with it. And the next thing, the EPC contractor is calling you up saying, well, you haven't approved any of these. So there's another change order for these delays, and you get completely swamped. And they're very good at it. They're very, very good at it. If anybody's ever worked on the big shipyards out of Samsung and Hyundai and these in the oil and gas EPC days of the FPSOs, it's brutal. Day one, you get 100 change orders hit your desk. And you have to have the organizational talent to manage that. And I think the battery industry is repeating that mistake. The only difference is the oil companies had the money to overcome it. They also, something else you see in the battery business is this, they rush to order equipment. Yeah, the oil industry did that. Oh, well, there's a lead time on this. We need to order this, before we got final. Let's start ordering equipment way before we're ready, because otherwise it's going to arrive too late. And they have this vision in their head of a plant that's been perfectly built, but unfortunately you're now waiting 6 months for a key piece of equipment so it can't start. And they think we're going to have to order this now. We'd better order this kiln now, because otherwise we're going to be waiting for it. What happens in practice? You order the kiln, the plant never gets built, and then one day half a kiln arrives, and you've got no business or no plant or not even a site, and you've got to somehow figure out what to do with this thing. And half the time you ask the manufacturer to keep it. Yeah. So the oil and gas business was very good at ordering equipment, spending money on ordering equipment too early, and the battery business 100% does that.